Hey you guys, if you have the ability to comment down below and let me know that the video is coming through and you guys can hear me okay. If you can, please do that. That's great. I am still running around with a chicken, like a chicken with my head cut off. I have my head cut off kind of hair today. You guys love me anyway because it's raw. My house is a complete disaster. Long story short, the kids and I are working on cutting up a lamb all by ourselves today. So it's a little bit crazy around here. So and there's flies. I'm going to have to get all the ingredients here really quick. So just bear with me because I literally just finished chopping up a lamb shoulder. So a little bit crazy around here. So just give me 1 second. Let's see, I don't need that. Hang on. So tonight we are making pineapple barbecue meatballs. A recipe might help, huh? Oh my goodness, it's been one of those days, guys. It's been crazy. Okay. Let's see. I'm in the wrong part of my cookbook. That's why I can't find it. There it is. All right, I'm going to grab some more ingredients and we're going to get going.
Started?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I bet you they did. So I'm just gathering the ingredients for the barbecue sauce because that's the first thing. Hey, Jackie. That is the first ingredient, and the first thing we're going to be making is the homemade barbecue sauce, which I do have a video up here on the channel on how to make that. But we're going to make it now because crazy day, okay? All right. All right, Dijon mustard and cayenne. Where are you, Cayenne? You hiding? I'm gonna have this crazy hair like the entire video. I can just feel it. It's not liking being restrained. Okay. All right. Let's see. Do I have everything? I need salt. Oh, there's salt right there. Apple cider vinegar. Okay, cool. All right. Oh, hey, heroic pepper. I'm just grabbing all of my ingredients because I totally just got done, or I'm in the middle of processing and cutting up a lamb with my kids. So I'm a little bit behind today. It's a little bit crazy. I'm so glad you're here, though. I'm going to grab one more ingredient for the sugar-free barbecue sauce, and we're going to get that started, okay? Tomato sauce would help, eh? I basically have been watching 3 or 4 different butchers videos this afternoon trying to figure out how to cut up this lamb, and it's definitely not going to be professionally done. It's just going to be meat that is a certain cut, maybe close to a certain cut. It's fine.
Hi guys.
Miss Bree. We have a large family anyway, so it's like little tiny lamb chops. That's not going to be enough for our family. So I just simplified things and it was fine. Okay, so a pan would be good. Here's a pan. You see a soft pan. Same here, large family of 6 here. Hey. So, Heroic Prepper, what is your actual name if you feel like disclosing that information? I just like to say, hey, so-and-so, if I know what your name is. But if you don't want to, I totally get it. Totally get it. All right, so we're gonna start with a medium saucepan. Whoa, wipe my burner off here. One of those crazy. Mike, okay, cool. I'll remember that. I have Uncle Mike, he's pretty cool. All right, I'm gonna angle the camera down a little bit. You guys can see what's going on instead of just my head. How about that? It's going to stay. It's going to stay. Oh, good. Okay. It's all over my channel also, Mike, everywhere. I'll have to check out your channel. I find myself not having much time to watch YouTube anymore these days. Maybe this winter, but I will remember that. Okay, Mike and everybody else. You're going to need 1 can, 15 ounces of tomato sauce. And like I said, this recipe is up on the channel as my regular sugar-free barbecue sauce. I love this barbecue sauce because it's kind of like a dump and then simmer for a little bit if you want a thicker sauce sort of situation. If you are putting this sauce like in on a roast or something like that instead of crock pot, it's just going to slow cook. You don't have to cook it down at all. You just add it. Okay, so the next ingredient is 1/3 cup of apple cider vinegar. That's what I have in this big jar here. Whoops, I missed a comment. Sorry, guys. Okay, how do you feel about prices on sauce going up? I feel like they hiked up lately. Yeah, I think it's like Kraft. I think I'm just gonna blame it on Kraft. A lot of like stuff from Kraft has just gone through the roof. I don't know what's going on. I don't know, because some of the sauces have soybean oil in them, so I know the cost of soy's gone a lot. So that might be too. I just love making my own sauce because it's in it. Okay, so this is apple cider vinegar. It's raw apple cider vinegar. Might help to label. Hang on. I get my apple cider vinegar from Azure Standard. Okay, so it's not the Bragg label. This is a good apple cider vinegar. But Azure Standard sells it by the gallon, and then I just transfer it into these glass jars because they sell it in plastic, and I don't want an acidic thing sitting in plastic for a really long time. And so basically this is the Azure brand raw apple cider vinegar, and I actually love it more than the Bragg's because I feel like over the years Bragg's has watered theirs down quite a bit. So this is actually like way darker than the Bragg's. Okay, so back anyway, Bragg's will work. Apple cider vinegar, 1/3 cup. Into your pan back there. Okay. Next ingredient is 3 tablespoons of molasses. You want to make sure when you're selecting your molasses that you're looking for an unsulfured kind. I know this label doesn't say unsulfured, but on the website, Azure Standard does state that their molasses is unsulfured. So I'm just going to eyeball this. If you're one of the people that needs to measure everything out, go ahead and get out your tablespoon. But molasses and honey are things I don't like to measure out because they're sticky, and then you can't use your measuring spoon again for any of the other ingredients. So I'm just going to eyeball this. So 3 tablespoons of molasses. If you want an exact flavor every single time, measure it out. We like it even if it's a little bit different each time. Next ingredient is raw honey. Obviously it wouldn't have to be raw, but just your sources. These guys ship all over the country. This is an amazing company to buy from. It's prairierockHoney.com. You guys can't even see the label because it's too shiny. Too much sun coming through the window. Anyway, this whole gallon of raw honey is $39. Usually I buy 2 and then I go ahead and you get free shipping then. Okay, so once again, 3 tablespoons of honey. I'm not measuring it. I'm just going to eyeball it. Anyway, I've been told that this is a steal for raw honey, so check their website out. They've got all sorts of stuff on there. And I have not turned on this burner yet, so you haven't missed anything. The next ingredient is paprika. And, ooh, is this going to be 1 teaspoon? Oh, it's a miracle. I have a 1 teaspoon today. Okay, the next ingredient is paprika. We're going to go ahead and add 1 teaspoon of paprika. Okay. Next ingredient is salt, half teaspoon. We're gonna do healthy salt. We got colored salt, pink Himalayan salt, Celtic sea salt that's a grayish color, half of a teaspoon. Next ingredient is onion powder, which mine is homemade and so it's all clumpy, so I'm gonna have to hack this one out just for a second. Take a fork and make it loose. It was kind of like a solid mass before I had vacuum sealed it, and then the seal had broken in storage, and then it was like clumpy. So then I stuck it in a blender, and apparently that doesn't help. So just kind of solidified. So we need, this is onion powder. Onion powder, we are doing half of a teaspoon. There we go. Next ingredient is garlic. I'm going to use garlic granules. You could use garlic powder too. And we are looking at 1 teaspoon. Two tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. I'm going to skip the Worcestershire, whatever. You guys know what I mean. I'm skipping that sauce tonight. I don't have any. If you have some, 2 tablespoons. It still tastes good with no Worcestershire, whatever, sauce. But if you really want it to taste like the store-bought, you need to add Worcestershire sauce, okay? 2 tablespoons. Okay, 1 teaspoon of Dijon mustard. Okay. And then just a dash of cayenne. Now, if you like spicy barbecue sauce, add more. If you want a smoky barbecue sauce, you could totally use smoked paprika in place of the paprika. It's actually really good. So I'm just going to do a little tiny sprinkle because I've got kids here. If it was me, I would crank this up. I would put probably 1/4 of a teaspoon. But I got kids, and, you know, if I burn off their taste buds, then, you know, I could probably get in trouble for that. So, all right. We're going to go ahead and turn this over medium heat. I'm just going to give it a stir. And this doesn't take very long. We're going to dump this over meatballs. So I'm just going to bring it up to a simmer, and then I'm just going to shut it off. Now, if you wanted something that you were going to brush onto meat that you're barbecuing, you would want to simmer this for about 20 minutes. It gets nice and thick, just like the store-bought stuff. It's not too bad at this point, actually. You guys can see that, okay? But this definitely is going to be okay just to go until we bring it to a simmer, and then we're going to dump it onto the meatballs. I'm going to check my comments because you guys are up and chatting. Hang on a minute here. Hey, Julie. Okay. Mike says, I usually never watch live food, but saw pineapple barbecue meatballs. Yes, they're so good. Okay, Jackie, it doesn't look like there is a mother in your bottle of apple cider vinegar. Did you have a mother when you got it from Azure? So even when you buy it in the Bragg's bottles, there's like little floaties. I've never actually had like, you know, like a mushroom, like a SCOBY looking thing in any of my bottles, even from Bragg's, if that's what you mean. It's raw, it's not filtered or anything. So there's just like little microscopic, what did I do with that? It's just like super cloudy. Like you can't even, see what I mean? With Bragg's, theirs is like a golden color. And so that's why you can see the mother bits floating around in there. Whereas this is like much more concentrated, it's like a stronger thing. And so it's much more cloudy. So, I suppose if I watered this down, you could probably see the chunks, but it's definitely a huge difference. I wish I had some Bragg's apple cider vinegar. The one month we ran out of Azure's brand, I put the two side by side and decided I wasn't going to be paying for Bragg's anymore because it just looked like they had taken something that's nice and strong like this and watered it down by like 1/3. And so I just decided I wasn't going to spend my money that way anymore. Okay, sorry, I'm missing another comment. Okay, so then Julie, hello Julie. Okay, awesome. So this is on medium heat. It's just going to come up to a simmer. So in the meantime, we're going to get going on meatballs. So, get ready to laugh. This is funny. This is the only bowl, guys, left in my entire house that's clean. It's huge and gigantic, but we're gonna use it anyway. The other bowls are behind me on the table with lamb liquid, we'll call it, on it, all right? So, yeah, we're just gonna do the nice, clean, huge, gigantic, look at how big this bowl is. You do not need this big of a bowl, okay, guys? All right, I'm gonna grab my ground beef. Recipe calls for 2 pounds of ground beef. I'm just gonna dump it into the bowl. Ooh, I'm gonna blood all over myself, that's okay. I probably already have some, to be honest, with my afternoon. Okay, there's 1 pound. So the story behind the lamb was like we weren't necessarily to butcher him, but he got into some grain and was headed down a road that he could not get out of, basically, health-wise. And I just knew. I worked in a veterinarian hospital for almost 3 years, and I just knew he wasn't going to make it through the night. So all of his meat was still good, but he wasn't going to make it. So anyway, we went ahead and had some friends come over late last night and helped him off and just got him cut into primals and in the fridge, and then the kids and I are tackling cutting him into the actual cuts today, which has been really interesting. Okay, so 2 pounds of ground beef. Yeah, got it. So now the next option that you have is I make my own canned, oh, you guys can't even read that. It's just so shiny from the light outside. Canned pineapple zucchini, okay? If you don't have this, don't freak out, okay? You can go to the store and get shredded canned pineapple, okay? Just try to buy one that's not sweetened. We just want pineapple and water. This one is a little bit sweetened because this is actually zucchini. But you don't want a really, really sweet, sugary meatball. You just want it to say, hi, I have pineapple in me, but not scream at you pineapple, if that makes sense, okay? So this is my pineapple, homemade canned pineapple zucchini. I do have a video on the channel about how to make this. Super easy, and it's a great way to use zucchini. So this is gonna go in there, it's going in. The whole thing, liquid and all. So if you're gonna buy canned pineapple that's shredded, it's the liquid and all, okay? It's all gonna go on in there. So that's in there now, and we are going to, let's see, add some eggs. Hang on 1 second. We need 2 eggs. I have like this huge egg. I keep grabbing it like I'm going to use it. I'm like, well, if it has two yolks in it, then technically it's 2 eggs. So it goes just back into my carton and waits for me to use it one of these days. All right, 2 eggs. Ready to go. Now, the next ingredient, you could totally select what you have on hand. If you had like a flour, like a regular flour on hand, you could totally use that, okay? You're going to be putting, probably, let's see, if it's a regular flour, you're probably going to be doing 1/4 cup of regular flour. If you have regular flour, sprouted flour would be even better if you have that on hand. I'm going to be doing grain-free because I can't have flour right now. I'm looking for my recipe, so just bear with me, guys. So I want to make sure I get this measurement correctly here. Okay, so you could also use like almond flour if you got almond flour. Come on, where is my recipe? I cannot wait to have my recipe book done, you guys. It's gonna be a miracle. Because then I'll have everything right where it's supposed to be. All right, I know it's in here. So, there it is. Haha. Okay, found it. 2 eggs. So now I'm going to use coconut flour tonight. You could use cassava flour, tapioca flour. The idea is we're trying to absorb the liquid that's in here, but not dry out your meatballs, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and use coconut flour. See, I know I had a tablespoon measurement. There it is. Ha 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 ha. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and add, let's start with 4 tablespoons. I don't think we're going to need 6 tablespoons. If you're going to use tapioca flour or cassava flour, any of those type of thickeners, I would just go ahead and go with 4 tablespoons. We'll stop with 3. Let's see what we can do here. All right, now we're going to stir this on up. It's quite runny, so I'm not going to put my hands in there quite yet. Doesn't look appetizing to me yet. Our sauce has come to a boil back there, so that's good news. Okay, so 4 tablespoons of coconut flour is perfect. In the past, like I said, I've used tapioca flour. I've used all that stuff, and that's somewhere between 4 and 6 tablespoons. So just coconut oil absorbs, or coconut flour, absorbs so much moisture that you don't need as much as you would need if you were going to use tapioca. Okay, so regular flour, start at like 4 tablespoons and work your way up. See how well it absorbs your liquid. But you guys can see here, it's all dried up now. As your standard has amazing coconut flour as well. I'm gonna grab my pan and we'll get to rolling these into balls. Gotta go grab my lard. Be right back. If you don't have lard, you sure could use coconut flour. You could use, coconut oil. You could use tallow. Any of those things are good things to use. As long as it's a semi-solid at room temperature and it's not Crisco, you are good to go. So we're just going to grease our pan. You don't have to, but if you cook this long enough for some of your sauce to get kind of browned up on the sides, it's really hard to get it off the dish. So I always make sure I grease my pan. Okay. So we're going to take the meat and the zucchini mixture and make little balls. Obviously, you can select whatever size you'd like. I used to be one of those people that was like, oh, I'm going to use 1/3 of a cup measurement and make sure every single meatball is the same size. Now I really don't care, to be honest. It all eats the same anyway, and my kids don't really fight over who got the bigger meatball as long as it's not totally obvious who got the bigger meatball. So I just kind of form them up into whatever size they become. And throw them in the greased pan here. To have an extra step, you sure could take these meatballs and put them in a pan and saute them around to make the outsides firm and cooked, and then bake them. I once again, I don't really care if my meatball has a crunchy outside or not. I just like it to taste good. So we're okay with meatloaf style meatballs, but you sure could do that if you felt like doing that extra step. They're good either way, I guess what I'm trying. All right. These are so good, and I have done it with regular canned pineapple as well. So that's the other thing that will make a variation in your amount of flour, is depending on what brand of canned pineapple you use. Some of them have a lot more liquid in them. So then you may have to adjust that flour or coconut flour or tapioca flour or cassava flour amount, just so that you can roll your meatballs without it being too liquidy. Okay. What I love about this recipe is it's a good way to use zucchini, but also even if you're using the canned pineapple, it adds a lot of moisture to these meatballs. So these are not dry meatballs; they are moist, melt in your mouth meatballs. And we're going to pour over the homemade barbecue sauce here in just a second. And they are out of this world amazing. This was kind of like an accident. I just wanted to try this recipe. It's my own recipe. I invented it. But one night I was like, oh, I wonder if you could stick canned pineapple zucchini in a meatball and have like a pineapple barbecue meatball going on. Got a few more I gotta sneak in here. Had to make a little bit more room. So my 2 pounds is gonna make, hang on a second. I'm gonna leave out this big chunk of pineapple zucchini. Somebody got sloppy when they were making that jar. And you're probably looking at her. I just talked to someone today and they were saying, oh, you know, we'd love to come over for visit. I said, well, right now I have a lamb laying on the middle of my kitchen table. The girls and I are cutting it open and cutting it up, you know, and so today's probably not going to work. And I said, I'll call you when I come up for air. But then I started telling her about how I have this orchard that I'm going to be, you know, harvesting soon and turning it all into apple and pear products and blah, 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 blah. And I said, well, maybe I'll call you in 2 days and we'll just get together. I'm going to go wash my hands. Because I don't know when I'm going to come up for air. It's fall, you know, and so things are just crazy. You know, I'm trying to get ready for winter, and nature all around us is telling us we're going to get hit really hard with a bad winter, so I'm just trying to get as much on the shelf as possible. Okay, so this sauce back here has been bubbling away. So I'm going to pull it off now. We are, whoa, move the coconut flour. Okay. So this is just going to get poured right over these meatballs, guys. I love it when there's extra sauce. Look at that. I love barbecue meatballs that are swimming in the sauce. You know, I don't like when you go over to someone's house and they serve meatballs and it's like, here's your one little tiny spoonful of sauce for that gigantic meatball. I mean, who likes to eat that? Nobody. What's the point of it? What is the point of eating barbecue meatballs if they don't have barbecue sauce all over them? I don't know. All right. So we are going to go ahead and preheat the oven to 375 degrees. I'm just going to put these in right away, guys. These will bake, depending on the size of your meatballs, for between 35 and 45 minutes, depending on the size of your meatballs. You'll smell them when they're done, because they are delicious. And I'm going to serve this with a side salad, guys. Kind of boring. A night like tonight where I got to go back and you guys want to see the mess? Look. Woo! That's what it looks like to process a lamb. Okay. But anyway, when you're going to go back to your craziness and be doing whatever you're doing that's crazy, which for me is a lamb tonight, you got to have a quick side. So I'm going to do salad, which I've actually already made. So I just got to wait till these meatballs are finished. And then that will be it. Hang on, I'm going to wipe off my counter real quick. And then we're going to go over the recipe for next week. And I'll check comments here in a second. They're easy meatballs, and they freeze good, you guys. So if you want to make them ahead as a freezer meal, do everything we just did, and instead of popping them in the oven, you just pop them in your freezer. Okay. Let's see, it's over here. Hang on. All right. Next week is, and I will put another pre-scheduled event up on YouTube, so you guys can get a notification, okay? All right, I'm sorry. I'm behind on comments again, guys. Let me just get caught up here. Okay, so did you get your laptop back from your brother? Yes, I did. And you know what? USPS did not run it over this time, so it's epic, okay? I sent my laptop down to my brother 6 years ago, and I didn't insure it because I thought I had wrapped it good enough. Boxed it up in a nice sturdy box, and my brother called me the morning that it arrived, and he's like, yeah, there's like literally a tire mark through the package. So anyway, this time I insured the box for $500 and thought, man, if they're going to run over my laptop, they can just buy me a new one. And anyway, they didn't. And so I got down there safely and back up here safely. So I do have my laptop. I need to get somewhere with internet because we don't have internet here on the farm. Half of our house is actually off-grid, so and can totally function off-grid without the other portion. And so we don't have internet here. And I don't know that we ever plan to. I'm a little bit more firm on that than my husband is. So maybe one day we'll get Wi-Fi, or not Wi-Fi, but internet out here. But we do live in the middle of nowhere, you guys. So it's gonna be quite the feat. So anyway, I have to take my laptop to a friend's house, go for a little visit, and I plan to I have to reinstall like the office stuff on it so that then I can open up the cookbook, which is so exciting, my cookbook, and finish it so that I can say, you guys, the cookbooks are available. I can't wait for that day. Okay, Jackie said, is this okay on gaps, or what would you need to exchange it to make it gaps for sauce and meatballs? So sauce and meatballs, so my, let me just think about this for a second. The canned zucchini pineapple has sugar in it, so that would not be gaps. Can they even have pineapple on gaps? I don't think you can have pineapple on gaps, Jackie. Like, period. I actually have my gaps book like lent out right now, so I can't even go into the other room and grab the book. So that would be my one concern, would be pineapple. But they could always take that pineapple out and just exclude it and make the meatballs anyway. And as far as the sauce go, molasses, I do not believe is allowed on gaps either. For some reason I'm having reception difficulty. So hopefully you're still there. We're going to keep going until it cuts me all the way off. Anyway, this company is amazing. They sell their own barbecue sauce that is GAPS approved. It is on their website, which is prairieRockHoney.com. They sell it in like little 16-ounce bottles. It's very good. We ate it when we were on full GAPS, obviously. Probably not an intro thing. But once you get on to stage 5/5 full GAPS, you can totally have their barbecue sauce. Without the molasses, it's going to taste a little bit different. You sure could omit the molasses and do the rest of the ingredients minus the Worcestershire sauce. So no to the molasses, no to the Worcestershire sauce, and you could totally have a yummy sauce on GAPS. But like I said, that they do sell GAPS approved barbecue sauce. It's amazing. So let me check comments again really quick, make sure I'm caught up. Okay, Julie says, yes, I can't wait for your cookbook either. I'm so excited about my cookbook, you guys, because I have binders. I'm a binder slash notebook girl. And my problem is I have all these magnificent mommy thoughts throughout the entire day. And so I have to have notebooks everywhere. And the problem with that is, well, I'm looking for that one notebook, guys. It's like has a blue cover. You know, it's the one that has, you know, maybe the wire on the top and folds like this. Like I haven't seen it in like 3 days. Has anyone else seen it? And when you have little kids, sometimes they see it and then they like take it and color on it and they don't want to tell you that they hit it. So it's like hide and seek. It's a mess. So I cannot wait. Even my own cookbook, guys. I mean, it's kind of a mess. See? It's all note cards everywhere and on top of each other and not so good. So, all right. So I'm finding the meals for this next week. So next week we're going to be making I'm going to pick one because I haven't picked one yet. Let's do a whole baked chicken. I'm going to season it up with an amazing rub. It's totally perfect. I got it out of this cookbook. It's actually not my recipe for the rub. Let's see if I can find the cookbook. Hang on. No, it should be in here. It's an Amish. There it is. Hang on. It got pushed to the back. Okay. It's out of this cookbook, which is really, really good. It's called Wholesome Home Cooking. I bought this from a really, really small organic store. So I'm not sure that they sell it anywhere else. Okay, but it covers, this is Amish recipes, you guys, from Lancaster County. Healthy fats, whole grains, natural sweeteners, cultured and fermented foods, sourdough, and bone broth. Anyway, in this nice little cookbook from the Amish, they have a recipe in here for a delicious rub for the whole chicken. So we're going to do that. And like I said before, I'm going to put up a pre-scheduled live here on the channel, just like I did with this one, so you guys can see all of the ingredients. I'm going to type them down in the description of the pre-scheduled event, so you guys can scroll through and make sure you have all of your ingredients. So you don't have to write this right now if you don't want to. So for the baked chicken, you're going to need a whole chicken. You're You're going to need healthy salt. I would suggest the brand Real Salt. It just tastes really, really good in this recipe. But if you don't have that, pink Himalayan will work as well. I've never used Celtic sea salt in this recipe. You're going to need some onion powder, some sage, and some curry powder. So we're going to make that next week. I'm going to show you guys how to cut the chicken down the center and lay it so it's flat so it cooks in 30 minutes because everyone's looking for a quick dinner. It's a quick dinner that you can grab, and then you could use the bones to make chicken broth afterwards. So that will be next week. Super easy, super basic, but also super delicious. And it's GAPS. It's GAPS approved. So I'm actually like I'm not on GAPS right now. I just know several of you guys are interested in the GAPS, and from just the response from my last video I put out, there's a lot of you guys that are interested in GAPS. I've done the GAPS diet twice with my family. The first round on it, we did it for 6 months, and then we had to stop because I got pregnant. You're not supposed to do the GAPS diet, especially the intro portion of the diet while you're pregnant or breastfeeding, because your body is trying to heal. So it doesn't need to be healing while it's growing another human, and or detoxing while you are growing another human or nursing, okay? So, give me 1 second. Let me get a glass of water. So anyway, I started that whole thing on the GAPS because I've done it, and I know there's several people around me, just even local, that are interested in doing this GAPS diet and healing their families. And what is the GAPS diet? And how do I do this? And what does this look like? So anyway, I know a lot of you guys are interested. It's just a lot of my recipes may or may not be GAPS approved. I invented a ton of recipes when we were on the GAPS diet because I bought those 3 books that I was talking about on the recording, and while those recipes are good, my family just wanted meals that we'd had before GAPS that were GAPSified, if that makes sense. So, like we had to invent our own beef stroganoff recipes and my own, just like comfort foods. There wasn't a ton of comfort foods in a lot of those cookbooks. And so it just got to a point where you're doing this through the winter, and you're used to having, you know, rice and noodles and all that sort of thing. And you can't because you're on GAPS. So anyway, I will do a video on all of those other recipes that I came up with because I think that would be fun too. We still do try to eat at least breakfast grain-free. If breakfast isn't grain-free, then oh well. Just like yesterday morning, we had cinnamon rolls for breakfast. We did my sourdough cinnamon rolls, which turned out amazing. I did not eat them, but the kids enjoyed them. But for the most part, we're eating things that, recipes that are actually already up here on the channel. So like the egg skillet recipe, we have that for breakfast. Plain old scrambled eggs for breakfast. And we also eat a lot of those muffin recipes. I have them, if you scroll all the way down, so in my beginning, like number 12 or number 13, I mean all the way through 160 videos, all the way down to the bottom, there are videos on there on how to make grain-free muffins. We love our cinnamon roll muffins. Those are also grain-free, sugar-free, just sweetened with honey. Those are GAPS approved as soon as you can have raisins, okay? Give it a say if they are GAPS, and where your cookbook say if the recipe is GAPS. Yes, I can do that. I can put inside my recipe that it's GAPS. That's actually a really good idea. Because I plan to have like GAPS recipes. I plan to have, you know, grain-free, which kind of fits into GAPS for the most part. I plan to have, obviously, we don't eat sugar here, so a lot of it's going to have honey as a sweetener and or maple syrup. I found that after I came off the GAPS diet, my body does not handle maple syrup very well. So that's why a lot of my recipes, even tonight's recipe, you guys could totally, for the barbecue sauce, switch out the honey for maple syrup. Totally could. It's just for me, for some reason, when I eat maple syrup, it's going to sound crazy, but it just feels like I ate some sugar, and my brain just feels like it's going zzz, like it's just wired, and I just don't like the way that feels. So I'm going to move the camera up just a second, guys. So that's why a lot of my recipes do not have maple syrup. I can't handle it very well. So, and maybe list exchanges for GAPS in your non-GAPS recipes. That's a good idea as well. Yeah, that's like, let me write this down because I don't want to forget your tips here, Jackie. Hang on. Yeah, so basically, because I'm healing my cavities, a lot of the recipes that I do, I have to alter anyway. Technically, I don't think I'm supposed to be having molasses, but I guess I figure it's 3 tablespoons, and I'm not on the GAPS diet. I'm healing my cavities, and so 3 tablespoons for an entire sheet isn't that much. When you're just trying to heal your cavities, it'll be okay. Same thing with the honey. I shouldn't be having. I can't sit there and eat 3 tablespoons of honey right now because I'm healing my cavities. But if it's 3 tablespoons divided into the entire pan, that's okay. So, all right. So I'm gonna write that down. GAPS labeled recipes, and I can do that on the recipes there on the channel too, for cookbook and substitutions. Yeah, it's so funny because I was trying to look through on my computer when I got it back from my brother for my cookbook, and I was scrolling through or trying to, and because I don't have any programs installed onto the computer right now because my brother basically took apart the entire computer, and I don't know anything about computers, okay, but he got into the hard drive, was able to hack into it, was able to pull all my files off. But the problem is I don't have if this even makes sense, I don't have the programs on my laptop anymore to open that. So like it'll bring up Microsoft Word automatically, but because I don't have internet, it won't let me use it. So it's like I get to see a flash that it's there, but I don't get to go through it quite yet. So I'm looking forward to going through it, and I'm looking forward to being finished. I was hoping that I could just get into it right now so that I could go through and cross off all the recipes in this gigantic binder that I already have in there and get a feel for like how many more we have left. I also plan to do, in my spare time, I also plan to make up some videos on soaking flour, because I find that when you start telling people about soaking flour or soaking oats, that they're like, well, how about a recipe for this? You know, how about a recipe for this dough? Like, can you use that recipe to make this stuff over here? Do you have a biscuit recipe that uses soaked flour? And I don't right now, but I'm going to invent that as well. Because I feel like, you know, a soaked pancake recipe, a soaked, waffle recipe if possible, just soaked things that you guys can take the flour you already have and some apple cider vinegar and turn it into a nourishing thing without having to learn how to do sourdough. Sourdough is so intimidating to a lot of people, and it was to me at first as well. So I'm going to try and get those recipes done as well, and then get those into the cookbook because I feel like that's a good transition. I was going to say too, as you guys are looking at your recipes, because I had somebody message this last week about a cowboy cookie recipe, and so here's a tip for you guys. If you're going to exchange brown sugar in a recipe, what I do is I take the amount, so let's say it's 1 cup of brown sugar in any recipe. Instead of using brown sugar, you can take that 1 cup measurement of brown sugar and instead do half, in my case, honey or half maple syrup, and the other half molasses. If you do that in all your cookie recipes, it'll totally taste the same because the molasses is what gives it the flavor on the brown sugar, okay? So in her case, I think it was like 1.5 cups of brown sugar, I think is what it was. And so in that case, you would do 3/4 of a cup of honey and 3/4 of a cup of molasses. If you just split it right down the middle, that's usually pretty good, especially with like ginger snap cookies and stuff. Molasses, that's what gives it their flavor, guys. So anyway, I've got a few more recipes to invent, is what I'm trying to say. And I'm going to try and get over to my friend's house here the next week. I was hoping this week, but I also wasn't planning on butchering my lamb last night. So anyway, I was thinking my week was going to be a little bit more open, but it's not. So I think we're going to finish up on the lamb tonight, which is good. And then I'll just have the mess from the lamb to clean up. And then I don't know if there's anything happening tomorrow yet. So anyway, I have to look at the rest of my week. But I'd like to get over there sometimes this week and borrow their internet so that I can get the programs installed, and get my hands on my cookbook, because I'm very, very excited for that. So if you guys have any other tips on what you'd like to see in the cookbook, you guys can comment down below and let me know. I do plan to also put all of my feed recipes in there. My feed recipes for geese, for meat birds, for egg layers, for milking goats. All of those recipes are going to go like in the animal section. I don't know what else. I need to write that down though too. Animal feed, so don't forget. What's going to happen is I'm going to be typing this thing up, and then I'm going to get to the very end and think I'm done. I'm like, I'm done. And I'm going to go, oh, look at my list. Oh no, animal feed. I still got to do that. So, let's see, what else? I don't know. I think that's it. These are almost preheating, which is so funny. And then I'm going to set my timer for 30 minutes or so and get it going. So, depending, these might get done a little bit early because I threw it in there while it's preheating. Oh, look at that. It finally caught up to me. So I'll probably set a timer for about 20 minutes and check on them. The sauce on the outside of your pan that touches the outside of your pan will start to look really, really cooked. Hopefully you catch it before it gets black, but it'll start to stick to the side of the pan and then kind of look like it's solidifying. And that's usually when it's done. So then you'll pull it out. You can always cut open one of the meatballs, make sure it's cooked all the way through. But for the most part, at 375 it's been preheating for probably at least 10 minutes plus a 20-minute bake, you're probably just fine, especially with grass-fed beef. But it looks so good. All right. Let's see, what else? Yeah, so I do plan to make more videos on the GAPS diet. Back to the GAPS diet. I know there's a lot of people out there that want to heal their allergies, want to heal their gut, want to make it. It is the perfect time, you guys, to do the GAPS diet. Anytime's the perfect time, but it's the perfect time right now because harvests are coming in from the farmers, and you need a lot of the things that they have when you're on the GAPS diet. If you try to do the GAPS diet on the intro portion during the winter, you're going to have a really hard time finding things like zucchini, okay? So the quicker you can get yourself on the GAPS diet in the late summer, the better. And basically, another plus to getting it done now is that you're going to be on full GAPS through the winter, and you will get sick much less, you guys. Illness, colds, flus, all of that stuff has to do with the body having a leaky gut. I'm not going to tell you you're never going to get sick with a sealed gut, because you will, but you will find yourself a lot less sick, I'll say it that way, and recovering a lot faster when you have a healthy gut. That is your main line of defense against illness. So the more you can build that up, the better. And heading into, cold and flu season here in a month or two, it's a good idea. It's just a good idea. Almost anybody can benefit from the GAPS diet. I know that people were asking about that as well. Like, who would you recommend go on the GAPS diet? Okay, so on the front of the book, it talks about people with ADD, ADHD, schizophrenia, bipolar disorder. Those are all gut issues, guys. Okay. Other things, pretty much anything is usually what I say to people, because basically, if your gut is leaking and your gut is not functioning the way it should and you're not absorbing your nutrients, then the body can't heal. So any sort of condition that is not healing, that was what led us to the GAPS diet in the beginning, was my horrible seasonal allergies. I thought, you know what, we're eating all this expensive organic food, we're eating totally clean, I don't understand why my body's not getting better. We're paying for raw milk, all of the things, guys, and I was not getting better. Every year I'd have these horrible seasonal allergies until it got to a point where I had my inhaler and my breathing treatments in the ER multiple times a week. So that's what pushed me over. That was the end stone thrown into my well, because I love to be outside and farm and be out in the sunshine with my children. And my last trip to the ER, they looked at me and said, you need to stay inside or wear a mask while you're outside. And I just can't live my life that way. And so that's kind of what led us into the GAPS diet. So seasonal allergies, it's another warning sign that your gut is not in great shape, okay? Food allergies, that's not normal, guys. That means the body is flagging certain food items as foreign bodies instead of nutrition as you're eating them. So you have to fix that gut to get that healed. Let's see, what else? Well, I mean, I had a ton of stuff heal on the GAPS diet. We had my oldest daughter, she had enamel damage on her teeth from a fluoride treatment when she was 12 months old. And you could like literally optically see the holes in her enamel because those portions of her teeth were discolored. And the dentist had told me that it will never heal. There's no way to heal enamel. Once it's damaged, you're screwed. And that healed on the GAPS diet. So there's just the body can heal once it gets nutrients. And so a lot of us are walking around with guts that have been damaged by various things. Just for us women, birth control is a huge thing that damages your gut. Antibiotics, that goes across the board for males and females. You know, if you just think about all the things we put in our body that are toxins, all of this stuff is harming the gut. So basically, anybody can benefit from the GAPS diet. It's a good way to jumpstart your body and be able to have your food, you know, all the nutrients get into your body and heal, start to heal, be able to have everything it needs to heal. So basically anybody. If your kids are picky eaters, that is a gut issue, guys. If they avoid, you're fighting them to eat their vegetables, you're fighting them to eat, et cetera, that is healthy, and all they want is the carbs and the sugars. That's totally gut, guys, because what ends up happening, and this is going to sound crazy, this is one of the things you learn on the GAPS diet, is that your microbiome in your gut, so the good guys and the bad guys, are what controls what you crave to eat. I know it sounds crazy, I know it does, but you also got to think about like parasite mentality. Those bad guys are down there living off of what you're eating. So they actually change the chemistry within your body so that you crave things like potatoes, you crave things like, you know, French fries and all sorts of things. For me, what ended up happening with my body on the GAPS diet, the thing I craved, which was just crazy because I hadn't had it in probably 10 years, was that bread that you can go into most grocery stores and it has, I don't know if it even has real garlic in it, guys, but it's like the French bread with the butter and the in between. And when I was experiencing the die-off of my bad bacteria and swinging to the positive side, I could literally taste that in my mouth, and I haven't had that since I was a child. So I'm 37 now, so I probably haven't had it in at least 20 years. And I could taste it inside my mouth, and that's all I could think about eating was that bread. So just remember that you picky eaters, it is linked back to the gut. The child has an unbalanced microbiome within the gut, and the chemicals that are released from the bad bacteria into your system is what is making you crave things. So that's a major thing for kids is the picky eaters. Another thing with children would be the symptoms of ADD, ADHD. Those are both gut issues. There's a lot of kids that are on the spectrum, which my daughter is one of them. They do amazing on the GAPS diet, absolutely amazing on the GAPS diet. The anxiety is gone, the focus is there. My daughter was an entire year behind on her schooling for homeschool. We were trying our hardest, but she just was not grasping anything. She had dyslexia, that's also gut related. So these things can be healed when the body gets nutrition. And so it's just amazing to see that. So that is why we did the GAPS diet. I just strongly recommend it to anybody. I also, out of that same mouth, 5 seconds later will tell you it is the hardest diet you will ever do in your life, but there is good news. The good news is that you don't have to do it the rest of your life. You only do it 12 to 18 months, and after that, you get to work back onto the meals I make here on the channel. Nutrient dense, properly prepared grains, and beans and all that stuff. And you can go back to eating all this amazing food, okay? It's just a little glimpse in your life and in your child's life. And when I've given talks about this before, I'll say it to you guys just like I say it to everybody else, which is, as a parent, the choice to do the GAPS diet takes foresight. And that is to look at your child and say, the struggles that I, as a parent, am just about to go through to take you through this diet is worth the payoff because you change your children's lives forever. So in my case, I had one child with a dairy intolerance and one child with gluten intolerance. I changed their lives forever by doing the GAPS diet because they no longer have those food allergies. I freed them from having to have the allergies the rest of their life. I've healed and sealed their gut so that their gut lining is going to protect them from illnesses and everything else. We still get sick, but just not as often as we did before the GAPS diet. None of my kids ever had allergies. I mean, for myself, I freed myself of over-the-counter allergy medication and inhalers and trips to the ER. There's just so much healing that can happen in your body when it gets the right things. And if you can struggle, if you can have that mind where you could struggle for a year to 18 months, worst case scenario 18 months, guys, that's like severe autism. Those type of cases would be closer to 18 months or so. But if you can just struggle, the typical illnesses, if you can just struggle through the GAPS diet for a year, let's say, okay, it's totally worth it because you're going to change your life and your children's lives for the rest of your life. And that nutrition and that difference and that healed gut goes to your grandkids. And so it's worth it, guys. You're passing a gift along, not only to your children, but to your children's children, just by doing the GAPS diet. Babies in the womb get their parents' guts, okay? So if you can make a difference in the next generation, that's a huge impact. So, that being said, I'm going to check comments. And I have videos coming out on the GAPS diet, you guys. Oops, hang on. I'm going to do some videos about things to do before you start the GAPS diet. I'm going to do videos about what kitchen equipment you need before you start the GAPS diet, which is not a lot, guys. Don't worry about it. I'm going to do a video about what to expect on intro, what to expect on full GAPS, and what to expect through all 5 stages of the GAPS diet. And I'm going to try and keep those videos short. My goal is 5 minutes or less. I know you guys don't have a lot of time, and I know sticking through 10, 15, 20-minute videos is just too much. I get it, especially when they're talking videos. So I'm going to try and keep them around 5 minutes. Even if they're just short little videos that you guys can watch in the evening before you go to bed, 5-minute videos. That's what I'm going to try and do for the GAPS diet information. Let's see, other than that, I'm going to take these meatballs out in 8 minutes. They smell good. I think it's going to be a little bit longer than 8 minutes on those ones. So like I said, you're just looking for the sauce to start sticking to the outside of your pan, okay? But typically, if you wait to put them in until the oven is preheated, you'll be between 30 and 40 minutes depending on the size of your meatball. So that's all there is to that. And I'm going to do it. I'm going to put a little side of side salad on the side and call it good for the night. But you sure could serve it with steamed vegetables or whatever your family enjoys as a side. I also have videos up on the channel about how to make barbecue baked beans and stuff, so that would be good here. It would be a lot of barbecue. You could do a side salad of like a potato salad. That'd be delicious too. All that stuff would be good with this, and so, or even my baked carrots would be good with this as well. Okay, that is it. That was such an easy recipe, guys. I'm so glad you guys were on here joining me. I love that. And I've got some notes, and what was the name? I think it was a comment by a Bone Crusher on my GAPS video. I'm going to be getting back to you. I saw it, your comment, right before a, what word should I use? A passed on creature made it into my home. Okay? That I had to then cut up and pass on to a cooler location. So, anyway, I saw your comment. I will get back to you on that. And I will get up the pre-scheduled live for next week so you guys can click off of this and click on to that. And yeah, that's it, guys. So thanks so much for joining me tonight and listening to me talk. And I will see you guys next week. And you guys take care.